and welcome everyone to this year's UK College Fair. We're excited for you to be here. Wish we that I could be there in person, but this is a brief overview of US sports scholarships, specifically focused on the NCAA, which is one of many different sports organizations within the US. I'll be joined today by Shawn Slon from St. John's University at their Rome campus to give you an example of one of our NCAA member schools. So three things that it's important for you to track on when considering a sports scholarship or applying for or searching for a sports scholarship for you is to know that there are three different sets of requirements that you have to track on, and each of those are separate. So high school graduation, what you need to do to graduate from your home country, NCAA initial eligibility, which are the academic requirements that I'll touch on in this presentation, and then the college admissions process, which Shawn will touch on today with an example for you at St. John's University. Each of those are going to be different, so it's important that you do your research on each of those to ensure you're meeting each set of requirements. So the first step in pursuing an NCAA sports scholarship is to register with the NCAA, and you would do that at eligibilitycenter.org. And once you have registered with the NCAA, then the next step in there is to make sure that you are meeting the academic requirements in order to receive a sports scholarship or to compete for an NCAA member school. So our universities, we have over 1,100 universities across our three divisions, and it's important for you to be on track to be eligible to compete for one of those schools. So the information that I'm getting ready to cover on the qualifier requirements, you can find by scanning this QR code that you see on the page here, which will have all of the information I'm about to cover. So I'm going to focus today on what it takes to be a Division I qualifier. There are Division I and Division II academic requirements, but if you aim for Division I eligibility by default, you will also be eligible for Division II. So we'll focus on covering those requirements today. So for a Division I qualifier, which is defined as being eligible for that scholarship, or what we define as an athletics aid agreement, and to practice and to compete with the school's team immediately, you must earn 16 NCAA approved core course credits from year 9 through when you graduate secondary school, and you must get a GPA of a 2.3 or higher on the US 4.0 scale, which I'll cover in just a moment. Now, if you're joining us today from the UK or any British pattern education, what that translates to for your educational system is that we would be looking first at those GCSE certificates and exam passes that you have, and you would need to have one in each of the 5 required core areas. So an English language or literature exam, a mathematics exam, a science exam. If most students in the UK take the trilogy science, that would count. You also need a social science, something like a history, a government, civics, law, economics, etc. All of those count as a social science. And then one additional 5th exam that can be from any of those areas above. So if you took English language and literature, which most UK students do, the first one would cover the English requirement, and then the second English exam, the literature, for example, could cover that 5th additional requirement. Please also note that AS and A levels are another form of approved exams in the NCAA guide, which can count towards eligibility. So I mentioned earlier that you need a 2.3 or higher for eligibility for Division I, and the GPA minimum requirement for D2 is a 2.2. So this is the conversion scale. The US operates on a 4.0 scale, A's being a 4, B's a 3, and so on. So what that means for your country and your educational system are the following grades. So if you got a 5 or a 6 on your GCSEs, that's the equivalent to a B in the United States, which would mean you would have a 3.0 GPA. So take a look at those scales in our international guide, which will help you navigate meeting the academic requirements. You can find the information for your country by scanning this QR code, which will take you to our international guide, where you can search your part of the country and then or your part of the world, and then select your country, where you'll find information on acceptable forms of proof of graduation and all of the GPA conversions and what are acceptable core courses. Next, we're going to briefly talk about how to submit those academic records so that you can put that on your NCAA file so that we can then deem you eligible to receive that scholarship. So the first thing is knowing what to submit. We would want official copies of your GCSE certificates emailed directly from your school, and I'll talk about how they send those in just a moment. You'll see on the left side of the screen there in green, that's an acceptable form of a GCSE certificate. What is not acceptable is what you see on the right, which is a school list of exams. So just make sure that you're getting your original certificates or statement of results, taking those to your school for them to scan in, and then they can email those to the NCAA. And I'll talk here in just a moment about how they do that. If you're joining us today from an American school abroad, your counselor actually has the ability to just upload your transcript directly to the NCAA through their high school portal. But for all other students attending non-American schools, they would need to email those in. You can find the email address right here, which is ec-processing@ncaa.org. And we'll leave you with a few resources today that will be available as well. And if you need to contact us for any questions, you can scan the QR code there, which will allow you to connect with the Eligibility Center. But with that, I'm going to hand it over to Shawn to talk to you a little bit about his university.
Thanks so much, Elizabeth. My name's Shawn Slon. I'm a recruitment manager with St. John's University. Some tips and best practices when it comes to getting recruited as an athlete. So first of all, talk with your support system about what level of competition they think you should aim for. Remember, there's Division I, Division II, and Division III. Also, different teams or different sports, even within a Division I school, can be more competitive than others. So you really have to do your research to understand, first of all, which division you're most likely eligible for, and then which university is competing at a certain level within that division. In other words, let's use St. John's as an example. All of our teams are Division I, but our basketball team plays at the very highest level of competition, ranked in the top 10 last year in the country, whereas some of our other teams, while still competitive, still Division I, might be a little less competitive to be recruited to. I hope that makes sense. So first of all, you want to register for the NCAA Eligibility Center by or before year 9, if possible. Not to worry if you're watching this video, you're already in 10, year 11. It's never too late. So it's not too late to register your NCAA Eligibility Center account, but the earlier the better. Check the emails you get from the Eligibility Center quite often for different tasks to keep on track. Work as hard in the classroom as you do at your sport. That is very important. I'm not sure what happened. I apologize. We're going back. What you just saw there was a recruitment calendar, and I'm going to touch on that in just one second. So again, work as hard in the classroom as you do in your sport. You want to earn the best core course GPA possible. Remember, to be eligible for Division I in general, you need a 2.3 GPA. However, at each institution, the GPA requirements might be different. So again, going back to St. John's University as an example, most of our programs require a bit higher, a 2.5 or higher. Some programs like business, computer science require 3.0 or higher, as well as some of our health sciences as well. So, you need to get that GPA up high if you want to be eligible to be recruited to the school you want to go to, and not just to be an NCAA athlete, but for both reasons. So there's a link to an interactive map to research the admission requirements of NCAA schools you're interested in attending. But again, using my school as an example, St. John's University, I just mentioned the GPA requirements that we have. We also require an English language proficiency test unless you're coming from an English-speaking country. And there are some other cases where we can waive that exam. We are SAT optional, so we do not require the SAT exam, but some schools might require that. So then I showed you, we could go back to it for a second. I accidentally showed this recruitment calendar, but there are contact periods, evaluation periods, quiet periods, dead periods, and recruiting shutdown. These are different for different sports. So you need to go on the NCAA Eligibility Center's website and pull up the recruiting calendar for your sport to see when, you can be contacting coaches and they can be in touch with you. Um, if possible, play on elite travel teams and attend camps or showcases in your area to display your skills and build relationships. This is not always possible, but if you can do it, it's a plus. If you can't, don't worry, it's not necessary. It's just a tip. Conduct yourself always in a positive manner. My apologies for that. Conduct yourself in a positive manner, both in class, practice, games, at home, and in your community and online. Make sure your social media is representing the mature athlete that you are, right? And your social media should promote your sport. Also, just make sure there's nothing controversial and nothing immature on your social media pages. Those could be looked into potentially. Email college coaches during your sports contact period. Again, you're gonna have to look that up. It's different, for your sport. And contact the coaches, share your achievements and your interest. I'm going to show you in just 1 minute how you're going to find the St. John's coaches' contact information. But coaches' contact information for every university is available online for the general public, so it's quite easy. And it's really on you to get in touch with the coaches. So one tip that I have is not to just email the head coach of the team you're interested in. Email the assistant coaches as well. They might be more likely to get back to you. Regardless, when you're emailing, you want to be including your name, the position you play, and your NCAA Eligibility Center ID. That is very important. Include it right in the subject line. It makes you look more official. It shows the coaches that you're prepared, you know what you're doing. And again, it's required. So coaches need to see that NCAA ID or they really cannot recruit you. Um, let's see. If you're being actively recruited by an NCAA school and you still have a profile page account with the Eligibility Center, make sure to transition that account to the right type of certification account. Again, there's two certification accounts, one that's mandatory for Division One and one for Division Two. In your emails to coaches, you can include your statistics. You should include your achievements and certainly try to include, if possible, a very short highlight reel. So a video with your highlights as well as an uncut video. So a segment of a game that is uncut to see your general play and how you move around the field is also encouraged. So two short videos are encouraged when communicating with coaches, but not mandatory. When I say short, I mean approximately 5 to 10 minutes each. That is not a rule, just a suggestion. Take unofficial and official visits to the NCAA schools as much as possible. If you're interested in attending, you should definitely go see the coach, meet with them, learn more about the academics at the school, see the sports facilities. If you're unable to visit campus, review schools' websites and take virtual campus tours. So St. John's has a great campus tour available on our website. I'm not going to show you that now. What I'd like to show you just real quick is this. This is our athletics page, Red Storm Sports. We are the Red Storm, St. John's University. And I've already clicked on the staff directory within this page. So but just on the top here, you can quickly see all of the Division One sports that we offer, both on the men's side and the women's side. So we're going to take a look at those sports to get more information about their, the players on the team, the roster, any news, schedules, and so on. The reason I'm bringing you to this page, however, is not that. It is for this staff directory. So we're going to pull down this drop down here, hoping that you can see this drop down on my recording. I think you can. And let's say you play men's soccer. I'm just picking one of our Division One sports randomly. I'm going to pull up men's soccer. And this is going to bring you down to, oh, it's reloading, all of our men's soccer coach names, titles, and email addresses. Again, don't just email the head coach, email the assistant coaches as well. I hope these tips have been helpful. Again, my name is Shawn Slon, St. John's University. I am a recruitment manager for international student admission. I do not recruit athletes, but I'm happy to help with the athletic recruitment process like I'm doing here, just to give you some tips and get you started on the process. I cannot be involved in the actual athletic recruitment, and that is where the contact with the coaches comes in. So thank you again for your time. I look forward to talking to you during the fair.